Hi there. I don't really know why I'm doing this. I guess I'm stuck on the couch right now because my little dog is not feeling great today. So I'm just sitting here with her. I don't have many things to do, and it's 4th of July, and I didn't know that it was. And so I just thought I'd record some thoughts about it, because why not? It's a weird day now, you know? It's a really weird day. Like, there's all this nostalgia that I have, because, we always used to have 4th of July parties, even just like a year ago. I was at my grandparents' and like the neighbors put off like a bunch of fireworks. It was great. It was one of the nice times I had last year. But like, and this is like a constant process, but in the last year, I've just learned so much, especially in the last year, about American history that has been hidden or just not spoken about. Terrible, terrible things that we've done. Specifically, I've been learning a lot about a lot of the stuff we've done to the Native American people right leading up to like literally the 1970s, like taking children from Native families, forcing them into boarding schools, cutting their hair, forcing them to adopt languages, like beating them. And like, these are boarding schools people are not aware of. Like, you can look it up. Like, they have a bunch of documentation about it now, and people that lived through it talking about these horrible boarding schools, and how they were forced to acclimate without being given any of the actual training that other kids were, and then you've got, in the place I live, the town that I live, there was like a massacre of Native people, and they would travel, like they would live here in the valley that I live in the winters, and then they would go up to the mountains for the summers because it's cooler. And because of that, my town just right now, just like publicly, like in a newsletter, was like, hey, actually Native people didn't live here, but they say live because it's like they were transient, and they were here for part of the season. They were seasonal, so they didn't live the way that we live here, which makes sense because it's hot and miserable. But they say that, and then it's just so deplorable, because what we actually did I say we, I wasn't here. I haven't lived here. I've barely lived here. But like, there was a massacre of Native peoples in this area, and it was because they outlawed horse racing, and that was very, very important to the Native peoples here, and they outlawed it, then massacred them for doing horse racing. And of course, now we have our own horse racing, like our own little white official American horse races. And like, so it's hard to celebrate the 4th of July. Then you got like forced conversions, at gunpoint, like forced conversions to Christianity. And that's hard to stomach in any capacity, That's just hard to stomach. Because the more I learn about Native peoples, the more I learn how rightfully cyclical they were about how they cared for nature. They didn't overharvest the land. They did controlled burns. They did a lot of agricultural stuff that is really, really good. Braiding sweetgrass. I haven't read it, but my wife has read it, and she's learned a lot from it. We're farmers, so it's like we think about this stuff all the time. And then that's another thing, is like the food crises that we're under. And the fact that like, so I am gluten intolerant now, and I hate that because it's such a like stereotype. It's like, oh, are you gluten free? But it's true. It's like, I'm gluten free, and I'm frustrated by that, because I can eat wheat from other countries and be fine, because other countries have regulations on their food that America doesn't. We're not regenerative. We're putting stuff that like isn't supposed to be edible in our food. and we're destroying the land. And I'm not just saying that as like a hippie. I'm saying that as like a person who is like, I can't eat a whole food group because of government regulations being unchecked. Like, that's crazy, right? And I'm one of so many people. All the allergies, all that, like, there's so much stuff that has just become, yeah, like, it's like normal to us. It's normal to us now, and that's crazy. So it's, I don't know. And I think, and then of course, now, okay, I've been talking a lot about Native peoples. Forget, like I'm not even talking about African Americans, right? I'm not even talking about any other people group in America, like the Mexican population in America. I'm only talking about Native peoples, and like, so it's like the oppression runs so deep, and I look at it and like, I don't know, I think it's hard because it's like, this is our day of freedom, right? Our freedom, our independence, the day that the Declaration of Independence was signed by a bunch of white men who said God is created equal. And like, this used to not affect me as much, right? That they owned slaves. I was like, oh, but that's fine. It's like product of the times, right? But then it's like, okay, but when there's alleged children of slaves and some of these people, right? Like, what do you do with that? What do you do with like the fact that there's like oral history passed down from former slave populations, right? That like talk about these things, that talk about these political people. And like, are all the stories true? I don't know, but I tend to believe it given the rest of the stuff that went on. And I think the reason why it makes July 4th so hard is that when I look at the oppression that there was in England, the taxation, all these things, I look at it and I'm like, well, what about now? Look at our taxation now. Look at what we're doing to the middle and lower class, let alone people of color and Native peoples. like the oppression and the negligence and the taxation that we as Americans have done has far, I mean, infinitely, to an unimaginable degree, outpaced any of the oppression that we had received, right? That we were running from, like the taxation that we were running from. We've outpaced it. So what do we do with that, right? Like, what do we do with that? Because it's a very difficult thing for me to grasp. And so I have all this nostalgia, right? I have like pool parties and parades, and like 4th of July was always like really exciting for me as a kid, you know? And I'm also one that like, I feel like you have to honor the place that you are to an extent. Like, I don't want to spend time just bitching about the state of my country, right? Like, powerful people are going to be power hungry people, right? Like, that's going to happen. That's just a natural piece of human nature, right? It's always going to happen. So I don't want to spend my energy complaining about it and being frustrated about it and all that. Like, I don't want to be the person that's constantly talking about how not happy I am about where I'm at, you know? But it's like, my own body is affected by that. My own body is like exhausted and has severe gut issues because of the state of my country, you know? Like, so it's, I don't know. I think there's a balance, because I don't want to spend this whole day just talking about all of the horrible things that have been done in the name of liberty and equality and justice and all those things. I'm not interested in doing that, right? But I don't know what else to do, because I don't have the happiness I used to have. The like, well, it's better than other, you know, like, because when people talk about, you know, the economy, like I talk about moving to other countries a lot, and people are like, but the economy's in that country. And I'm like, okay, but they have food that I could eat. Like, I wouldn't have to worry about my diet, and it's cheaper. I could walk down the street and get food, right? Like, that's huge. And so I, like, you know, have a lot of van lifer friends, bus lifer friends. Like, that's a big community that I'm a part of, that I love. And now, like, the Supreme Court just ruled that it may, like, they just basically gave, as far as I understand it, they gave states the authority to penalize homelessness, including living in your car, at the time when rent is the most expensive in history, right? Like at the time when the majority of people's paycheck is going to paying rent because they can't even own houses. So like, forget a mortgage, just rent. Like, that's when they're deciding that homelessness should be illegal. And like, I'm blessed to have family I can live with, right? Like, I have a job. I have my wife and I have multiple jobs, right? And like, we are working ourselves to the ground, and we could be working more, right? Like, feasibly, time in the day, I could be working more, like, I still have so many tremendous blessings, and I recognize that. But like, the blessing of my family is the biggest one that I have, because it's like, right now I have the opportunity to save a little bit more money than anyone else, and still we're just treading water. I don't understand how anyone's doing student loans and exorbitant amounts for rent. I used to do it, right? And now I'm working a little bit less, and I'm paying a little bit less in rent, right? So it's like, it just all balances out, and it's like, I don't know. It's hard, because I don't think about money. I don't worry about money very often. Like, it's a stressor, right? It's a stressor. I don't worry about it because I recognize it's like water. It's going to come and go. It's going to flow, and you're going to, like our little dachshund here, we're going to have to take her to the vet in a couple days. And that's sad, and we don't want to, and it's going to be money. And that's just a reality, let alone children. We don't have children, but we'd like to eventually at some point, and these are things everybody worries about. And I'm not trying to discourage anyone, and I don't want to just be a downer. I don't want to just be this depressing person on this day, right? Like, I'm not interested in in being that. But I don't really know what else to do. I don't really know how to celebrate on a day like this. I don't really know how to celebrate. And I think that that's okay. I think that that's good. I don't want to despair either, because I think there's so much more life than whoever's in charge over us. I think you have to find your own contentment. I'm a writer and a painter, and like, those are the things I love doing, right? And those have saved me through all of the turmoil, my hobbies. And I'm a portrait artist, so like, I'm doing commissions, not a lot, but like a little bit. I'm actively trying to do a lot of things that bring me joy. And I think that's really, really important, and taking care of your body. Like, I try to exercise a lot and do yoga to keep myself loose from my manual labor job, So it's like, you do all these things, and I think you have to find your own contentment. I think that's very important. But on a day like this, where we're supposed to celebrate freedom and supposed to celebrate all these things, I just find it hard to. And I think I'm allowing myself to feel that without the shame, because I have so many people's voices in my head saying like, but you have running water, you have all these, you have air conditioning, you have all these things that other people have like gone without. And the more that I study those things, the more I think like, well, I mean, our water has problems, and yeah, it's drinkable, and so like, I don't want to complain about it, right? Like, we still have it better in that area than a lot of other countries. When we're talking about air conditioning, it's like, well, have we adjusted our body temps? Have we adjusted to the point where we are like, people used to wear 3-piece suits in like summer, right? Like outside, they'd like maybe have a little parasol, right? But that was a normal thing. I don't know if people died of heat strokes more, but like, that was a thing that people did. And now I'm wearing like short shorts and a cutoff tank, and like sandals, and I'm like, oh. It's like, and I don't know, I think, and obviously like, it's not even talking about global warming or anything. That's just talking about like, I feel like there's got to be something with air conditionings, right? And I'm rambling about air conditionings. But it's like, I don't know, I'm at this point where I'm like, there's all these conveniences. When I really think about it, what I really find the moments of joy in my life, it's very much apart from these. It is with community, though. Community is central. And I'm thankful to have a tiny bit of community in my life, and most of them are not around me. So I'm very thankful that I have an opportunity. Like right now, I'm recording a big video. I'm gonna put this out there, and I'm gonna, that'll be nice. I'll get to, like, I don't know. That's a piece of community, right? And then I have friends all across the country. I wish I was living around them still. A lot of them I've had to move multiple times, and so I'm not around a lot of them, but I do have some friends here, and I'm thankful to have a wife that, it's like there is so much blessing, but then there's so much that is isolating and so much that's, I don't know, like I want community. And I realize that is really the part that I'm like seeking. That it's like when I want to be thankful for something, I think the thing that I'm not thankful for is just freedom to do my art and my painting, and like it's not just freedom to have whatever career I want. It's not just freedom for my wife and I to be able to vote. It's not just these freedoms. It's like what I know intrinsically I will always celebrate is community, and like a community that works together and lives together and is a cyclical, beautiful, emotional, dependent system within itself, like a small system, And so that, I think, has taken such a big hit now because we're all having to work so hard. Like everyone, at least everyone I know in my generation, at my age, is worked to the point where, like, it's hard for us to get together. And we have such a good time every time we do, right? Like, we're going to watch Jurassic Park out on the projector, I think, tomorrow night. And that's like the greatest little summer evening for me. I love it. And that took us a while to plan, and it's always a great time. And I just feel like there's always this like, yeah, we're hanging out. And I'm not even negative about that. Like I think I used to be really negative about like, oh man, it's so hard for us to hang out as adults. Now I'm just happy whenever we do. But I still have this in my head that we could have more of that. That we could just all be closer as a community. And so we have these modern things called cars, right? And that's great. I'm glad we can go anywhere, but also it spread out our communities. It's made us all so much more spread out. And so I think that's why I really have trouble celebrating today, is because every time when someone gives me a reason, oh, the swamp cooler just went on. There it is. There's the, air conditioning. But whenever anyone gives me a reason to be happy for a day like this, happy for just, all the things we have, all the blessings that we have. It's like, I am thankful for those things. But to me, that isn't a thing I would naturally be like thankful for. When I think about the things I am actually thankful for, they're not the things that were provided for me by my country. And so then when you add on to that this deep, like mournful history that we have in every area, even my wife's family, they have some slavery in their own personal history. They were white slaves like at one point. I'm fairly sure that they know that there was documentation of that. So it's just like, I don't know, there's just so much deplorable history that is also so recent and continual, and like, and of course, like, we're coming to an election, and it's like, what do you do with that, because everybody's telling me like, you have to stop this one and so vote for this one, and I'm just like, what do you do with that? What do you do when those are the options everyone's telling you? Everyone's telling you that like, you can't actually vote for who you are wanting to, because it will split the vote and it will go to a dictator, right? Like, that's a crazy place to live. And I'm not pressuring anyone one way or the other. Like, you make your own decision, because you got to do it. You got to do whatever you got to do, right? Like, if you don't feel like you can vote because you feel like you're supporting the system in a bad way, don't do it, right? Like, I don't know. It just, I don't know. It's very complicated. I don't think it's as depressing as we all think it is, because I think that, again, the bottom line is we're going to find community. And the more that we break down these systems and reconfigure them, I think, because I think people are at a point of desperation, I think community will thrive. And I think that it's possible to find that again. I think small-scale farming is probably going to be a big thing that's going to knit us back together as communities. I really do think that's a thing. I see a lot of people in my generation that are really actively pursuing regenerative small-scale farming, and I love that. So, yeah. Anyways, I think those are all my thoughts today. I just wanted to talk about it, and I thought there's got to be some other people that are feeling this. I mean, obviously there are, and I'm not trying to be... Like, I'm very middle of the road with a lot of things, right? Like, I'm fairly moderate, not just politically, like, in a lot of areas. I always feel like I'm towing the middle, because I just feel like I'm not interested in being an extremist. I'm not interested in alienating anyone, so if you feel alienated by this video, like, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to do that. If you're super happy today and you're, for some reason, watching a 20-minute video about this, I'm sorry, my goal is not to alienate people, and my goal is not just to complain publicly. I think my goal is empathy and community, and just to say what a time we're in, and there's times where that's exciting. Like, there's times where I'm just like, wow, AI, like, this is crazy. It's crazy that I'm hearing about that every day, like, it's crazy that we're gonna have, like, AI hospital doctor things in our malls and supermarkets by the end of the year, like, we have robots that can, like, fold laundry. What? Like, I don't know. It's crazy. And I think that's exciting. And I don't want to just be dread. I don't feel just dread. I'm a storyteller, so I like narratives. So it's like, I don't just have to feel dread. I feel actually very cool. Like, I feel like this is the time, But at the end of the day, yeah, I just want community. I just want, like, a depth. And I have a depth of friendships. Like, I'm so thankful that I've really developed and learned how to develop deep friendships in my life. And those have saved me so much in my life. And so if I was to encourage anyone, I don't know. I don't want to, because I just want this to be what it is. But if I was to encourage anyone, I would really say, oh, my dog's in. She's getting up. Hello, lady. Hello, lady. I'll take you potty in a little bit. But it's like, if I was to say anything to anybody, it would just be like, yeah, like, really push yourself to make friendships and realize that it probably won't be reciprocated for a while. Like, don't chase people that have no interest in you, right? Relationally and romantically, like, don't do that. But if you recognize that you really connect with someone and they also connect with you, and they've said it and you know that, and they just can't hang out with you, don't let them be bitter. Or don't be bitter about it. Like, we're all struggling. We all have to learn and relearn how to do these deep relationships. I think it's a lost skill, and I think it's something we can reclaim. I really, really do. And that's the freedom that I want, right? I want the freedom to go grocery shopping with my friends every time, because I hate grocery shopping unless it's late at night. If it's like 10 p.m., great grocery shopping times. Just me and my wife, like, bebopping around. There's music playing, and we're like, woo! Going down the aisle on the cart. Like, I don't know. I want to do things with people. And I also want alone time. Like, I feel like my alone time, I currently have the least amount of alone time in my life, which is why it's kind of funny, because it's like, there's people around me. It's not necessarily my people. It's not necessarily my community. So it feels a little different. And I think a lot of us feel that way, right? That's why, like, The Office is so popular. We got people that, like, our coworkers become our best friends, and that's fine. If that's true, that's fine. But when that doesn't happen, you're just kind of surrounded by people all the time. And when the average person is not really aware of how to make these deep relationships, then it's like, what do you do? So just remember, it's okay if they don't reciprocate and they're not like, and you're feeling a little neglected. That's okay, because it's valid. That's a very valid feeling, and they're probably feeling it too, and that's a very normal thing right now. And if you're not feeling super happy today, that's okay too. You don't have to hate everything. You know, you don't have to be wrathful. You don't have to align yourself with a political party in order to be kind of sad on the 4th of July. You don't have to agree with everything I said either. Like, you know? But if you're a little sad, I hope I've helped you a little bit and have a little bit of empathetic exchange here. But I don't know. That's really all I got to say, though. Love you. Hope you're doing well. I'm going to go eat a smoothie. Okay, actually, last thing. Best invention. One actual thing because this is good, guys, to actually say the things we are thankful for. Actually, I will celebrate blenders for the rest of my life. The ease with which I can blend shit up, put ice in there, put a little, fruit. You kidding me? It's great. So, like, out of all these things I talk about, like, not needing, I'm very thankful for blenders and toasters. Blenders and toasters. Y'all had toast? I can't have toast anymore. I have gluten-free toast, which is made of its own shit. But I tried to end on a positive note. Well, we got close enough. Long live blenders. Long live community. Hi, America. How you doing? You should take some herbs, America. Get a little checked out, you know? We just need to, do some heavy lifting. I think we can. So, okay, I'll leave it there. Bye-bye.